Thank you for watching Truth and Justice with Vivian King. I think I've brought you another very interesting episode tonight. Tonight I have in the studio famed trial lawyer Tyrone Moncriffe. He's one of the people that I admire a lot. He's had a lot of great verdicts all around the country, primarily in Harris County and the surrounding counties. I also have one of his clients, Atiya.
Yes.
Atiya Black, I might be saying her name wrong. She was charged with assault with bodily injury on a former police officer and a former Marine. This is a very bizarre story. It just shows you how a person who does all the right things, lives their life correctly, graduates from high school, attends college, has a profession, is a single mother, taking care of her daughter, getting up early in the morning, doing what a person could do, and ends up having a car accident, ends up getting assaulted, and then being charged with assault and having to spend the money to defend herself in court and defend her honor and her name. It's a crazy, bizarre story. But you know how I do it. Let's go straight to the story. So let's start. Just tell us a little bit about yourself. I'm going to start it off so you won't be so nervous. She's nervous by volunteering to tell her story tonight. So Ms. Black is 32 years old. She's a Houston native. She graduated from Lamar High School. She attended a couple of years of college in California. She's lived in California and decided to come home. She's worked the last 10 years in the accounting profession. She lives in the north side in the 1960 area. She gets up at 5 a.m. every morning, gets her daughter to school by 6:15, and she's at work by 6:45 a.m. But I'm going to let you hear it from Ms. Black. So let's go straight into it. Feel comfortable. Just talk to me like you did right before we started today.
It
was a Thursday.
Yes, it was a Thursday. Like normal, I get up at 5 and get my daughter ready. Actually, I get myself ready first, let her sleep, and then I get her up at the last minute. And then on this particular day, I took her to school like normal. We stopped at the kolache factory, took her to school, and I ride 1960 because her school is right on 1960, so everything is right there together. Anyway, I work in Spring, or at this time I worked in Spring, and it was roughly about 5 miles from my house. And I pull up to the light right there at 45. I'm in the far left-hand lane to turn left onto the feeder of 45 to go northbound. And apparently the gentleman, which I didn't see him at this time, was in the right lane, but both lanes turned left. So I didn't see him until I'm in the lane to get onto 45, which is the first lane. Then there's a second lane, and then there's a third lane. So it's 3 lanes across. And he was in the second lane. Well, he wanted to get on to 45 just like I did, so he had to get in front of me. He could have went behind, but he chose to go in front of me. There was room, but he clipped the front end of my truck. He didn't clear it. So when he clipped the front end of my truck, I didn't slam on my brakes. I slowed down and took my foot off the gas. Well, he pulled back beside me and was very belligerent. You know, I couldn't understand what he was saying. It was dark outside. I just saw his hands wailing in the in the window.
Kind of show us how exaggerated his movements were. I mean, was he being real exaggerated?
Yeah, like, and you know, I looked like I was confused. Like, really, you just hit my car? Seriously? So I didn't feel comfortable at all at that point, you know, to stop, because none of the cars around after the accident slowed down, stopped, or anything. There wasn't anything for me to pull over into, like a gas station right there, or anything right there in that vicinity. So in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm on my way to work. I know that, you know, there's people there at my job at this time of morning. I'm only a few miles away. So I signaled him to follow me to my job. He follows me to my job. My job is an office building, but it's also a warehouse. So when I pulled into the parking structure, I pulled all the way up to the bay door, where we have 1, 2, 3 different bay doors, okay, where you have 18-wheeler trucks that are there picking up material. and there was a Central Freight Line truck there. So when I pulled up, I'm kissing almost the roll-down door with my truck. And before I could get out of my vehicle and close the door, he was in my face like this.
Wow.
He could have kissed me.
Wow.
And he said some choice words and...
Like what?
He said, you know, that I had F with the wrong guy, this, that, and the other, and...
But more like, you've F with the wrong guy.
Yeah,
in your face,
in my face,
pointing
and
at
pointing
you.
at me.
And he's an older white man.
He's an older white male, yes.
Were you frightened?
Yeah, I was... This man is crazy.
Right.
You know what?
Right.
So I stepped back to try to put some space in between us and stepped away. Before I said what I said, I told him basically to go to hell, that he hit my truck. I was going to go inside the building, call the police, and told him, you're going to go to jail, is what I said.
Right.
And I turned to walk into the door. Well, he tried to grab me from behind.
Right.
And I had on a sundress, some flip-flops, and my dress tugged. And naturally, your immediate reaction to that is to pull forward and move out of the way.
Right.
So when I turned around, he swung at me and tried to punch me in my face.
Wow.
And it was at that point when I was like, oh my God, this man is really going to try to fight me.
Right.
Rick, this is not my brother.
Right.
This is not somebody that I know that's going to pull punches or anything like that. He's trying to hurt me.
Right.
And when he swung, you know, I stepped back and I balled up my fist and, okay,
we're going to have a fight.
we're going to fight.
Right.
And so I punched him. I hit him twice. And he wore glasses. The glasses cut his face. And it was at that point that he charged me and put me in a headlock.
Now, this is an older white man and now has you in a headlock.
Yeah.
Is he hurting you?
Oh, he's choking the stank out of me.
Oh, and so he's choking you, and so you start thinking what?
This is it.
I'm about to die.
Yeah, I may not see my daughter anymore, and I may not come home today. And I can't even tell you what possessed me to do what I did, but I'm glad that I did it. I grabbed him in his groin, and as hard as I could.
Squeezed him.
Yeah, and he yelled and threw me into the sliding door. And it was at that point where I was, okay, now I can run.
Right.
I can run now.
Right.
So I pulled myself up. It was a cement post that was sitting there, right there by the pedestrian door that you walk through, and put my hand on top of it and pulled the door open at the same time. And as I'm going into the door, I literally ran into the gentleman that was there, ran into him. And this man was on my heels. He was right there. I ducked behind him and was like, he's trying to fight me. He hit my truck, and I'm hyperventilating, trying to talk, cotton mouth, and everything was just, crazy.
So you're telling this to an employee of the warehouse?
To an employee.
And what was his name? Is that Mr. Avery or Mr. Brown?
That's Mr. Avery.
Okay.
Mr. Avery.
You didn't know his name at the time, but now you know it's Mr. Avery. So let's just call him Mr. Avery, and then you got this crazy man coming after you.
Right. So I'm trying to explain to him, but I couldn't.
Right, right.
I'm trying to tell him what's going on, but I couldn't. And in the interim,
tell her how you're feeling now. What does it really feel like to be that afraid? Tell the audience.
I really can't even put that into words, to be, that afraid, to feel like,
you're not going to see your child anymore.
Yeah, that this could be the end of my life, and I'm not going to be here anymore. There's no way for me to put that into words.
Okay.
I was like, I can't put that into words.
Scared to death.
Scared. And
so you reach out to Mr. Avery, who works at the warehouse.
Yeah.
You really don't know. You've just seen before.
Yeah.
So now you're crying to him that this man is trying to kill me.
Yeah, and at that point, I didn't know that there was another guy that was outside.
And you later found out his name was?
Mr. Brown. And he came in and he said, at this point, the gentleman's pulling out a badge to Mr. Avery. And Mr. Brown came from the other side of the warehouse. And
now let's talk about this. The man that came after you, this clipped your car, put you in a headlock. He comes out with a badge and says what? Like, I'm a cop?
Yeah, he said, well, to be honest, I don't remember what he said at that point.
You do remember seeing the badge?
I saw the badge.
Okay, and he's not in a uniform?
He's not in a uniform. Okay. Matter of fact, he had on a green cotton scoop neck T-shirt fitted too little with some the cowboy skinny jeans and some cowboy boots.
Okay.
That's what he had on that day, and his glasses. He had the Marine haircut, real low. I can tell you what he looked like too, but I'll never forget his face. I dreamt about it, you know,
Wow.
for a long time. You know, I would have nightmares about
him attacking you.
Yeah, about him attacking me
Right.
for a while. But anyway.
So he pulls out the badge, and now it's you, Mr. Avery, and the badge, and then Mr. Brown comes up.
Right. And when Mr. Brown came up, this is when I found out that he was outside. And he said that he didn't care about, you know, I don't care about your badge. You were attacking, I mean, you jumped on a woman. What's your problem? You know, and
He basically lets the man know that I watched what you did.
I saw what you did.
Okay.
And you're wrong, whether you have a badge or not. And told him to vacate the premises, told him to leave. And Mr. Avery was an awesome man. He's steady trying to calm me down. I was hyperventilating. I couldn't stop my body from trembling and didn't know why. And I told him, I can't stop shaking. And I told him that I can't stop shaking, you know, trembling. Excuse me. And he said that that's the fight or flight syndrome. And I looked at him like, what? What are you talking about?
Right.
And he said, you know, the fight or flight, if you feel threatened, there's only one or two things you're going to do. Either you're going to flee or you're going to fight.
Right.
And he said, you chose to fight. And he told me, like I was his daughter, that he was very proud of me defending myself, and that I was right in what, you know, what happened and everything. And he told me that he wasn't going to leave my side. And
how sweet is that?
yeah. Mr. Avery was awesome. He was. I mean, he called my dad. He asked me, was there anybody that I wanted to call? And naturally, I wanted to call my daddy.
Daddy's girl.
Yeah. And he called my dad and told my dad what had happened and gave him the address to where we were and told him how to get there. And I would say within 15 minutes he was there. And
let's get on to the bad part. How you got arrested. So tell me what happened after that.
The police got there. We were sitting in the office area, and it's all windows. You can see outside the parking lot. And at that point, the gentleman had backed his car up from where we were at the bay doors, and now he's parked out here in front of the building. And that's where he was sitting when the cops got there. And they talked to him first, and then they came inside. And they said, where's she at? And he looked, and I'm sitting right there. And so, well, what happened? So I tried to explain what happened from starting at the accident, and he cut me off and said, well, it looks like to me you assaulted him. And so I'm in shock at that response, and I hadn't even gotten to that point yet, you know.
You're trying to tell him how it started.
How it started.
Right.
And he says, he's the one who has the cuts and he's bleeding. You got a gash on his arm and there's nothing wrong with you. And so I took another moment of pause and was like, you know, trying to gather my thoughts. My brain was like all over the place. Really? You know, so I told him, I said, I remember asking him, are you serious? Like, wow, you know, I'm trying to tell you what happened. Well, what do you mean? Of course I'm serious, is what he told me. Very aggressive, very, to me, confrontational is what I took it as. And I told him flat out, I said, well, you don't want to hear anything else that I have to say, so I don't have anything to say. And I sat there and was quiet. And then I watched him talk to Mr. Brown, and he did him the same way. Didn't want to hear anything that he had to say. He talked to Mr. Avery, did him the same way. Well, you didn't see anything, because Mr. Avery, I ran into him, so in his mind, I'm running from the situation. I'm scared. I'm fleeing. And he's trying to explain to the officer from his perspective, from his point of view, what he saw transpire. He didn't want to hear that either.
And Mr. Brown had actually seen it.
Mr. Brown, actually, yeah, exactly.
The whole event.
The whole event.
Yeah, Mr. Brown told, I saw her pull up, and I've never seen her. She was, you know, she flew in there into the parking structure or whatever. And then before she got out of her car, he was right there. I don't know what happened as far as exchanging words. I saw her walk, and this is what he was telling the police officer. I saw her walk away, and then he grabbed her from behind. And when she turned around, he swung at her.
Wow.
And he saw that.
And so they stop him from telling the story.
Yeah, yeah. How could you have seen, where exactly were you at? How could you have seen anything?
So
It's
they
supposed
shut
to
him
be
down.
so, yeah, it's supposed to be so dark outside.
Right.
How many feet away were you?
Wow.
So I was just in awe. I sat there. I mean, I'm watching it, and in my mind, couldn't believe it was happening. And they left out, and I went back outside. And at this point, my dad got there. My dad came in, and it wasn't 5 minutes after my dad got there, they came back and said they were going to arrest me for assault with bodily injury.
Wow. So you get handcuffed, you get arrested, and tell us what other thing, crazy thing happens when you get to the booking in Montgomery County. What happens?
We get there, and the arresting officer doesn't have my driver's license or anything, and I didn't get processed in.
But didn't they ask for your driver's license?
Yeah.
Didn't the processor ask for it?
Yes.
And the officer didn't have
Oh,
it?
no, he was fumbling and digging in his pockets, pulling out papers and sitting it on the counter. Every pocket he had, he stuck his hand in. And then I think I gave that to her father.
And what did the lady tell you the significance was of the driver's license?
That when the officer knows he's going to arrest you, he's going to bring you in, and you have your driver's license on you, he is to bring that with him. And I didn't know that either.
And that'll process you in quicker because
Yeah.
then they know that the person they're bringing in, they can actually see your ID.
Right.
And what does she tell you happens if they don't have it?
That they have to send out to the DMV.
And the thing that's strange to me about that is that in Harris County, I know the prosecutors pull up your driver's license record. They're online, you know, they're governmental agencies. And so they can just pull it up on the computer. And I wouldn't see why Montgomery County couldn't do the same thing. I mean,
Absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
just normally what they do. So because of this, you kind of get lost in the system, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And your dad's trying to bond you out. There's no bond. You end up. What explanation did they give you for making you spend the night in jail?
They didn't give me one.
So you get in there at like 9:30 in the morning.
I was there at 8.
You were there at 8 in the morning.
Yes, ma'am.
And you never get processed until what?
7 o'clock that evening.
So what happens? I mean, you know your dad's gonna pick your daughter up from school or whatever. But I mean, what are you thinking?
I'm thinking, I was scared. I couldn't believe where I was, and I was looking at some of the other, people that were there, and they were different than me. They looked different than me. They talked different than me, and this is not where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
This is not right. And it's a humbling experience because you think, in life that, like you said in the beginning, when you try to do everything that you can and that you're supposed to do as a productive member of society, and you are trying to live right, that these kind of things cannot happen to you, and they won't happen to you.
Right.
And that's not the case. And sadly, I'm a living testimony to that.
Right, that's true. So you spend the night in jail, and when do you actually get bonded out?
7 o'clock the next night.
So you're there like almost 2 days. You're there all day from 8 a.m.
yeah.
all night, 8 a.m. the next day to 7 p.m. the next night.
7
Oh
days.
my
Yes,
God!
ma'am.
So you've missed Thursday and Friday of work. You basically not getting out until Friday night.
Friday night.
And your bond is $7,500, and you've never been in trouble before.
Never been in trouble before.
Who posted your bond?
Dad.
You could have been out at 10 o'clock that morning. Am I correct?
Yes.
Because you got there at 8, could have been out at 10.
Right, because the judge, I would have been able, had they been able to process me in
At 8 when you got
when
there.
I got
right.
there, then I could have seen the judge at 10 o'clock that morning.
Wow. So that seemed intentional, doesn't it? What do you think, Tyrone?
Absolutely. It seemed intentional to me when I even heard the facts. I said, this is done on purpose. It's a punishment for you. That's what it was, okay?
Yeah, it just doesn't seem right. So now you have a misdemeanor case, and you look for a lawyer, and you find the great Tyrone Moncriffe as your lawyer. And one of the things I was telling you off air is the frustrating thing for us lawyers is that civilians like you don't know who lawyers are. You know, you do need to find an expert criminal lawyer. If you know you haven't done what the police have accused you of doing, then you have to find someone that goes to trial. In 90% of all cases, there's a plea bargain, which means you plead guilty to a crime. And many people plead guilty to crimes they didn't commit. What did you think was going to happen when you hired Tyrone?
that the charges were going to be dismissed or dropped, and I
Just
would never.
because I hired a lawyer, they're going to drop
Yeah,
the
they're going to
charges.
drop the
Right.
charges.
You didn't
I'm not
understand
gonna,
that.
Right.
You learned it's totally different, right?
Totally different.
Okay.
Yeah. He had literally explained to me that, you know, we're going to have to fight this thing. We're going to have to make them prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt that you did this. And we're going to have to fight it. And I was like, and I remember telling him, I don't want to go to trial.
Vivian, let me add
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Let me add
Sure,
something.
please, Tyrone.
It would have been easy to convince her to take deferred adjudication, take a plea, and go out of here. She didn't want to go to trial with us.
She was scared.
But she was scared to death. She had too much in her life that she'd accomplished to throw it away for something that she was innocent of. So I told her, we're just going to have to fight it. I looked at her like I would look at my daughter and said, your life is not going to, if we go down on this, we're going to go down with a fight.
Right.
Absolutely. It was
And that's what he said.
no ifs and ands about it.
How difficult is it, Tyrone, to explain that to our clients? So the clients think when they hire you that magically is going to disappear.
Right.
How do you explain that to your clients?
It's very difficult, and it's case-by-case basis. Some of them you get to them, some of them you can't. But she and I connected real early, and I sort of looked at her like I would look at my daughter. I said, look, you've accomplished all these things in your life. There are some times where you need to stand up and fight, and this is one of them. And it's going to be the pressure's on me. It's not on you. But we're not backing up. And she was like, Mr. Moncriffe, can we do it another way? I don't want to go to trial. I don't want to go to fight. I said, no, this is what we do. So just...
Was she one of your
want it
clients?
over.
Was she one of your clients that said, I want it over, and everybody's telling me I better take a plea because I'm going to
Absolutely.
lose when I go to trial,
Yeah.
I'm going to go to jail.
I'ma
What was your
lose.
response to her on
And
that?
I said, we just going to have to hang in there and keep fighting. I kept trying to pump her up with, see, Viv, you know, you can't tell your client you're going to win because you may not.
Because you might not win. So that's the
You may
difficult
not
part.
win.
But Tyrone and I are the type of lawyers that believe in the system. We believe it's going to work for us, and we just are not going to tell our clients to say, I'm guilty of something that you're not guilty.
Absolutely.
Because you still got to say, I'm guilty to get deferred adjudication. You got to say,
Absolutely.
I'm guilty of intentionally and knowingly assaulting this man without any justification.
Right.
And that's not true.
Absolutely.
Without any legal justification. You did hit him. Right. You were defending yourself because he'd already swung at you, pulled you from the back, which is an offensive touching, and swung at you that you ducked. So
Right.
you're trying to get away from him.
Right. Exactly.
So you're
exactly.
hitting him to defend yourself, and Tyrone knows, and I know, that the law allows us to have the defense of self-defense when someone is attacking you. And if the jury believes that beyond a reasonable doubt that you're defending yourself, which is a legal justification in Texas law, that the jury has to find you not guilty. We know that. But our clients think that it's going to be played out in the courtroom.
Right. Exactly.
And it's difficult for us to explain to you guys that the prosecutors accept the charges. So they're not going to just let a lawyer walk in and say, oh, okay, we accepted the charges because we heard evidence of a crime from what the police reported. So now we're just going to drop it.
Absolutely.
It's the same people. No, we're
Absolutely.
not going to drop it.
Absolutely.
You have to exercise your constitutional right to a trial, to trust your lawyer
Right.
that he's gone over your legal defenses that they can choose or not choose to believe.
Absolutely. And Vivian is right, too. A lot of lawyers would have made you plead guilty, take deferred adjudication, and get out of it. It's easier. Just go take the deferred and
And
go
lawyers
home.
gone by 12 o'clock, they're at home, they're at the
Right.
office making more money, talking to
Yeah.
other people.
Yeah.
But it's hard to go to trial because you're going to be there and judges can mess with your schedules. You might have to stay till 5
Absolutely.
or 6. You might have to come back the next morning, work half a day.
Yeah.
You know, you have to work around their schedule. So your schedule is no longer your own.
Yeah, you're pissing the judges off, the
Right.
prosecutors off,
So
everybody's
everybody
mad
wants to go
with you.
home early, so everybody's mad at you. You're the enemy.
Yeah.
The government is the prosecutors, the judges, they're all on the same payroll. The
Right.
bailiffs, everybody in the courtroom is getting paid by the government, and they want to just, everybody to plead, lawyers to mind and be good lawyers and just
Absolutely.
plead everybody out
They're-
so we can be finished by 1 o'clock.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
we're still going to get the same check whether
Yeah.
we work till 5 or if we get off at 1 or 2.
Right, exactly.
And so the pressure's on lawyers to get in and get out. And the lawyers, who some of them to make the most money, plead people out so they
Absolutely.
get back to the office to make more money.
They're
Talk
the
to more
lawyers who
people.
make the money. The ones who plead people out, keep going. Keep those cases like a roller coaster, just keep moving. Yeah?
And one of the things we need to learn in our society is that if you're not guilty, you need to first of all find a trial lawyer. If it's a lawyer that does 2 or 3 types of cases like family law, criminal law, different things, generally they're not going to be as good a lawyers because it's just difficult for me to just keep up with what's going on, and I'm sure it is
Absolutely.
for you, Tyrone, unless we have young lawyers working for us.
Right.
Can we, is this a good segue to take a little break and take a phone call?
Absolutely.
All right.
Absolutely.
Caller, you're on. Hello?
Yes. I would like to know why do the majority of the time these kind of things happen amongst blacks?
What do you think, sir? Give us your thoughts.
I think it's race motivated.
You know, as you hear the rest of this story, I agree with you, caller. It sounds like it's a race-motivated story because she's black, she's on the way to work, he's white, he clips her, but yet he chastises her, and he assaults her. And then when he gets cut in the face because she hits him in the face with his glasses, then he's going to use his force. You'll find out later, I'll just spill the beans, that he's a retired police officer and a retired Marine. And so he still had a badge, and I don't know why, because he's not a cop anymore. So that sounds like he was impersonating a police officer, unless he's kept his license, T-close license. And maybe that's why he had it, but you know, you have to have an agency give you a badge, so I don't really know what that was all about. But it does sound race motivated. Do you have another comment?
No, ma'am. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening, and keep listening. If you have another question as the story gets better, call back, okay?
I sure will.
Thank you. So anyway, we get to trial. So Tyrone, tell us what your challenges are in Montgomery County.
Before, let her explain what it was like to sit in that courtroom and watching this jury. Kind of tell what happened. We sitting together, like we're at this table here, and we got a jury panel in front of us. Tell Vivian and the audience what it was like.
I'm already sick to my stomach, butterflies all over the place, nervous. And as people start to arrive and get there, I'm sitting at the table. I'm on display.
Right. You're on display at council table, and all these people are walking in.
Right.
Tell her what you mean by that, and what you're on display. You and I talked about it. What do you mean? What did you mean by that?
Well, first of all, I'm a black female. I'm sitting up there at the front. I felt like, you know, this big. They're coming in, they're looking at me.
Like you're a slave on the auction block or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on display.
I'm on display in that fashion. By their, you know, as they're coming in, they're like, oh, okay.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know.
You can see it. You can see it.
It's clear, you know. 95% of the people that showed up for the jury pool were retired white people, men and women. That other 5% was either Asian or another nationality. No blacks.
Wow.
And I remember when it was full and everybody was there that was going to come, I was just looking at everybody, and I remember telling, you know, Attorney Moncriffe, is this really supposed to be a jury of my peers? And he shook me because I wasn't paying attention to if I said it loud or not.
Yeah, she was saying it too loud.
Yeah, she was too loud.
I was just talking like, really? No, this is.
She almost shouted.
Oh my God! Oh my God! Is this a jury of my peers?
Yeah. I had to calm her down.
Yeah. Shh. Don't say that.
So what were you feeling when you said that? It's like because they're all
terrified.
white people that they're going to instantly think you're guilty because it's a white older complainant that made the complaint against you?
Yeah, and they seem to be like, you know, conservative. You know.
Do you think that? Were you thinking that everything revolves around race?
Most definitely.
And why were you feeling that way?
Because if it wasn't revolved around that, then I would have never been arrested. Period.
So you thought you were about to get railroaded some more. A white guy assaulted you, you tried to defend yourself, white cops wouldn't listen, and so now here we are with white jurors, so you're petrified.
Yeah, like, okay, now it's over with. I'm
going to jail.
I'm going to have a record. My life is over as I know it. I'm going to lose my job, everything.
Can't take care of my 4-year-old.
Absolutely.
Nothing.
So, Tyrone, how are you trying to calm her down?
Not only that, let me tell you something, Viv, and as you and I know, I'm nervous too at this point.
Oh, yeah, we're scared to death of our client. But we got to keep a poker face.
Yeah, they don't know
we're
it.
scared to death.
I've just convinced her not to take this deferred adjudication on the table. That we're going to fight this. If she loses, this is record. For the rest of her life, she's stuck with it. All that fear started internalizing on me, and I have to transform it to that jury.
Exactly.
Let the audience see what we felt here at this table. And I knew if I didn't bring it up then, it would never be brought up. So my strategy was to explain to them what was in this room. We have a black female who's sitting here with an all-white jury. What do you think about that, members of the jury? And they start raising their hands saying, you know, I feel that is odd. And I would be uncomfortable if I was her too. Some people say that. And I thought, as we started getting into the dialogue, my theme became just that. Let's take the racial issue out of it. And if it's not a racial issue, if this is just a white female, same facts, what would you do? And I think the jury walked in with that perspective. If this was not a black person, even if I am racist,
Okay.
if I look at this case just on its facts by itself, there's no way I'm gonna find this young lady guilty. And that was my attitude, okay? So we fought through that part of it, and then I had to calm her down. I think she became a little more comfortable doing voir dire, didn't you?
Yeah.
Did any of the prospective jurors, when you start talking about race, show their true colors such that you actually got to strike some of them for seeming like they were, a challenge to the cause? I just can't be fair.
No, we didn't have everybody played behind that.
Everybody played behind it and got aware of their racial biases to fight it.
Right, exactly. Withheld from that, showing that. You know, sometimes they'll bring it out.
Some people will.
Some people just bring it out. And I like those.
And
jurors.
I like those jurors. Some jurors will just say, no, where I come from, black people are bad, and I just think that usually with a guy, if he's black, he's probably guilty.
Absolutely.
I've had jurors say that.
Absolutely. If he's here, he must have done something.
He must have done something. I can't get past it.
Exactly. So the whole thing was to set that up, expose it, and I think after we exposed it, how did you start to feel after we brought the issue up of race?
I was like,
I know you were shocked. You didn't think I would.
yeah, I was floored.
Yeah.
Really?
Good lawyers face their fears.
I was like, oh my God, did he just make it worse or did he make it okay?
I don't know.
In my mind, did he say? And then I was looking at the, reactions to what he was saying and their facial expressions and, I never did get a good read on people. Never did.
You never do. So
You never don't.
Tell us what you think. Now, in the end, the jury knows she got found not guilty. What do you think happened? Because I know when we were talking the pre-interview, you said that you're scared to death, but when this former cop, the complainant, comes in, he's just as cocky on the witness stand as he was when he was out on the street, which I think, Tyrone, helped your defense, didn't it?
It told the jury what he really was. And what I was trying to explain to them, there's a couple of things that brought up about this gentleman. He was an ex-Marine, he was 61 years old, ex-cop for that division, Conroe. There's a couple of things about people like that with that sort of background. They have a cockiness about them. They're not used to people challenging them. And I could tell he was not used to an African-American man speaking to him like a man. He's somewhat condescending. And so I was able to step on his toes just enough to get him to react.
How did you do that? So do you remember anything that you actually said and what his reaction was? Or
I think
hypothetically,
when he talked about the 911 tape, when we remember he called the 911 tape, and he alleged that the way he said she was black, it wasn't like he was giving a general description for a suspect. Was she's black female? Oh, she's black. And it was the way he said it.
It's like a code word.
A code word for the rest of them. And I asked him about that. He wasn't comfortable with me asking him about that. And when I can tell he became uncomfortable. And there was a moment where he and I just locked eyes. And he was like, boy, if I can get out of this chair, I'm going to get
I'm going to get you.
I'm going to get you. If I get out of this chair, I get you just like I got after her. And I think they saw that. But he saw that he couldn't get away with me because we were going to challenge each other. We were going to be men. If we were going to lose, we were going to go down fighting like men.
Right.
He was uncomfortable with it. And I think the jury saw that.
Because he's the one that chose to say, and she's black.
Exactly.
And they're playing the 911 tape, and one of the interesting points you told me on the 911 tape, he says that he has an accident, and 911 is saying, don't follow her. Tell us about that. Yeah, Tyrone, no, you tell it, Tyrone.
No, basically that's what they were saying on tape. Don't follow, leave her alone. We'll take it from here.
You have her license plate, leave it alone.
We'll leave it alone. We'll take it from here. But he wanted to go his own way. It's very similar to, in some regards, to the case in Florida.
That Trayvon Martin case,
Trayvon Martin, very similar to that. But I'm going to take it on, and I'm entitled to do this. A black woman should never stand up to me. No, you don't have a right to stand up to me. A black man does not have a right to challenge me as a man in a courtroom. And he was upset with that. And when he saw that it was an imbalance, that the world wasn't going the way he was accustomed. He was 61 years old, so his history was a little different.
Right.
he became very uncomfortable with that, and I think the jury saw that. We were able to show that, highlight that in final arguments, and the jury saw it. And they saw her, just like you see in her today, a calm, nice human being who just got caught up in a circumstance beyond herself.
Right. Let's take another call. Seems like a good segue.
Sure.
Caller, you're on. Thank you for your patience. And turn your volume down so we don't hear the reverberation in the back.
Yes, ma'am.
What's your comment, caller?
Ma'am?
What's your comment?
My comment is, how many black attorneys in Harris County criminal justice system?
I wouldn't know that.
I don't either. I have no idea.
I wouldn't know that. They don't keep numbers like that I know of.
No, I don't know.
Okay. The reason why I was asking, because, I mean, it's a good show that y'all have on a good show that shows that y'all help the blacks, but it's a lot of blacks that go to jail that's innocent, that the black criminal, the black attorneys, the black court-appointed attorneys are selling them out, like Ron Mott. I don't know if you ever heard of him.
Yeah, of course we know Ron Mott. And let me just tell you this. One of the things we need to do in the community, black or white or Hispanic or Asian, is research who the lawyers are. I mean, don't be afraid to ask your lawyer. You know, if you're not guilty, you want a lawyer that knows how to try a case. And all lawyers don't know how. So sometimes we need to know, you as a defendant or me as a defendant needs to say, how many cases have you tried before? And not be afraid. People rarely ask me that, and I've tried over 100 cases, and Tyrone's probably tried 200. But people don't ask that because they don't understand the process. And caller, one of the reasons why I produced this show is because I want the urban community to learn about the criminal justice system. I want you to know that you're supposed to ask questions and interview the lawyer.
Absolutely.
You're supposed to know what their track record is. You just don't go by the lawyers on TV. It's a lot of good lawyers out there, but we are a select few good criminal lawyers. I mean, but it's still a lot of us, but we're a selective group. But if you ask around, you have to ask for criminal lawyers who try cases. Doesn't mean we win them all, but it means we fight. And Tyrone and I both do court appointments.
Right, exactly.
So it's not like, and most good criminal lawyers do everything. We do retained cases, we do criminal cases, because we're committed to the Constitution and a person's right to a fair trial. So it doesn't matter if someone pays us or if the county is paying us. Tyrone and I know, and there are many lawyers that give the same good representation, whether we get paid for it or not. But the problem is, we live in a society that everybody wants something for nothing. And we do have to still pay our office rent, pay for our lives. I mean, you know, sometimes we have to make a lot of money before we even get to bringing some home. And so we can't do everything for free. I mean, I got one pro bono case I'm doing now, which is the Anthony Childress case that was beat by the police because his lawyer got arrested. And I volunteered to do that for him. But I can't do that every day because that's a lot of time and money for me. So what I can tell you is to keep watching my show every Wednesday. I'm going to teach you everything I can that I know about the criminal justice system. And you spread the word, have people watch, and let's all be a more informed community.
And can I say something about what he said? He talked about court-appointed lawyers as though they're not good lawyers. That is farthest from the truth. You and I know some of the best lawyers I've ever seen are those who
some of the best
are court-appointed lawyers. You don't look at whether a lawyer is court-appointed or hired. You look at what the caliber of that lawyer, his track record, his or her track record. Check them out, research them. Don't go by what the lawyer says. Go by what other lawyers say about that lawyer.
Other lawyers and other people. But the problem with court appointments that maybe does give us a bad name is that if she has the money to hire Tyrone and she doesn't like Tyrone, she can fire him and hire me. When you're court appointment, you don't have a right to fire that lawyer.
Absolutely.
If you fire, you're stuck with them. And so that makes some lawyers lazy because you can't change. But you can change to hire someone. You can hire whoever you want, but if you get appointed, you only have a right to that one lawyer. So if they're lazy and trifling, then you're stuck with that. But what we're here to tell you is that a lot of us are not lazy and trifling.
Absolutely.
But let me tell you one thing. In every relationship, it has to be give and take. If I represent you and you already decide because I'm court appointment, you ain't nothing, you don't care about me, what do you really think calling my response is going to be?
Absolutely.
When I'm one of the most caring people out there. You think I'm going to fight you to let you know I care, or do you think I'm going to move on to someone that appreciates me? What do you think I'm going to do?
Yes, ma'am. But a lot of times when we get in the system, we put all our trust into the attorney. I had an experience where I put my trust in an attorney. I asked her to file a motion to suppress. They didn't have a proper call. She was handling the case until they revoked my bond and I was in jail. So what she did was put John Clark, attorney, court attorney named Sher Irvin. I'm pretty sure you know her.
Oh, yeah, I know everybody. That's in the 208th District Court. That would be in Judge Collins' court. Of course, I know.
So she, I fired her and hired Connie Williams, and it was a two-part. It was civil and a criminal case. So she didn't give Connie Williams all of the files, and Connie Williams handled the criminal case, but he supposed to be handling both of the case. She said that I made a deal with her. And she and
I understand that's getting a little bit specific, but what you can do, caller, because I'm always looking for guests on my show. You can be a guest one day. At the end of the programming, my office number and everything's up there. You can watch that, or you can Google me, and you can call my office, and I'll let you be a guest, and you can air your experience with the criminal justice system, so that we can figure out a better way, so we can be a more educated community. Will you do that for me?
Yes, ma'am.
But in the meantime,
the show I would. Yeah, I would like to be on it, but it's just a lot of things that's going on in the court between the court-appointed lawyers that have.
Right. And we'll have a show on that. And like I said, I appreciate it.
Ma'am.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So now they're starting to make $70,000 a year. I don't know if the government is putting pressure on the court-appointed lawyers where they have to lock people up. In other words, we just like cattle. You know, they auction us out. Well, you take 2 years, you take 2 years, you take 3 years, you take 4 years. You know, so they come in with a higher number and say they're gonna go in. My thing is, the prisoners should be able to be in the courtroom when the court-appointed lawyers are making deals.
Okay. Well, like I said, all that is very interesting, and I want to make a show around that. But right now, comment on this lady and call me at the office, and we'll have a show on that topic. But aren't you glad that Ms. Black was able to hire a lawyer to fight her case so she's not another person with a record for something she didn't do? Aren't you glad that happened to her?
Yes, ma'am. I'm so glad another one won her victory and wasn't railroaded.
And another thing is, don't you think that as citizens we should participate in the process? It's up to us when we get jury summons to go to jury duty.
Absolutely.
A lot of times black people, Hispanic people will be lazy. We'll say, oh, I don't want to go, I don't want to go.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that happens to me, I represent a lot of single mothers when their teenage boys get in trouble, and they'll say, well, I want some blacks on the jury. And I'll look at them in the eye and say, do you go to jury duty, man?
Right.
Do you give your time, do you sacrifice your time?
First one to get out.
To go, you'll be the first one not to go, or to figure out what I can say to get out of it.
Right.
So those are the same people who are going to be judging your children.
Absolutely.
If there's more whites there, that means that they're being more civic-minded.
Exactly.
They're giving their time to come to jury duty, and we should do the same thing.
The responsibility is on us.
The responsibility is on us, and it's on us to vote and know who our judges are, because that affects us. And so learn that lesson and pass the word. So thank you for calling, and I look forward to you calling me so I can develop a show around you. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thanks. Okay.
Interesting call.
keep it moving,
to say this.
Yeah,
what was it like? And you and I talked on a number of occasions after we go through that process, you're going through it, and the jury comes out with a not guilty. Tell Viv how, we've gone through that darkness, and what is it like at this point?
Well, I'm sorry. I was...
Well, she gave me a big hug, I guarantee you.
That's good. That's good.
Big hug.
I cried tears of joy.
Now, when they came out there and they read the verdict, you stand up, the judges stand up to hear the verdict, you and your lawyer stand up. What are you thinking? Like, oh my God, these white people are going to send me to jail? I mean, was that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I was like, okay, yeah.
And let me give a caveat for you viewers. She has white people in her family. I think your grandfather's half white or whatever. So she's used to a mixed race community in her own family. So I don't mean to say white or black with any racial motivation. I'm from San Antonio. Black and Hispanics in my family too. But we're going to call a spade on this show. We're not afraid to say it. I love my white brethren and relatives. But we're going to talk about reality, because that's what's wrong right now, is that we don't talk about the truth. Let me take a quick call. Caller, you're on. Make sure to remember to put your volume down so we can hear you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Sure. All righty.
What's your comment, sir?
All righty. I'm sorry?
What's your comment?
My comment is, well, I appreciate the show. I was just thumbing through it here, just gotten home, and actually I went to school with Tyrone.
Oh, okay.
And the young lady on, I guess, had her issue. I applaud her for being able to go through what she went through and be vindicated for it.
Isn't it great that we have lawyers that'll fight through the process, even though we're scared to death? Because we actually internalize and process our clients' fears.
Absolutely.
But yet we still have to keep that game face on so we can fight everybody in the courtroom and know that we're there to protect you. It's an awesome privilege, but an awesome responsibility. That's why so many lawyers are alcoholics and things like that. When people were talking about some other lawyers, when you mention them, because we're in this business, we're going to still hold them with reverence because we understand that this is really one of those things that many are called, but few are chosen.
Absolutely.
And everybody's not made of the same constitution. So just think of every day we have 2 or 3 people's lives in our hands. Do you understand how awesome a responsibility that is?
Absolutely.
And every client is telling you, but this is my life, Mr. Moncriffe.
You don't spend enough time.
This is my life, Miss King. This is my life. We know this is your life, baby. We
Right.
love you. We care about you. But, you know, each prosecutor in Harris County, they have 30 cases a day. Each case, each felony case, a court has 1,000 cases pending. 3 prosecutors handling 50 to 60 cases a day. So we know it's your life, and we care about your life. Unfortunately, it takes a long time for it to be your day in court. So I'm sorry I got on my high horse. Make another comment.
What's his name?
What's your name, classmate?
Oh, my name is George Williams.
George Williams. Okay, yeah.
From high school or college or where?
We're from high school.
Okay. Well, all right. Well, now you know the good things in the community that Tyrone is doing.
He's stretching me to go back to high school.
I know you're stretching.
Nice seeing you, George.
Thank you for calling.
Well, it's nice seeing you, Tyrone. Actually, I had another comment. I wanted to share a little something with you. I think I called your office and you expressed to me that you were a criminal lawyer, and I went with another lawyer here in Houston. I had a assault charge, I guess, levied towards me. And my question is, I was totally innocent. I got into a verbal confrontation with a vet, and she reached up and grabbed my arm. And when I pulled away, I said something to the effect of, who gave you the right to touch me? So she said, oh, you want to go there? So she called the police. Make a long story short, I went and I went to court. I hired an attorney, and he told me that they really didn't have a leg to stand on. So I went through this process, and you guys know what I'm talking about. Every month I had to appear in court out in Maryland.
I know she had to go, Ms. Black had to go for 10 months, once a month before she finally went to trial, so we understand.
See, well, I didn't get that part. I just got in from work, and
No, keep telling your story. No, keep telling your story. Okay, keep telling your story, sir.
Yeah, and it just got so frustrating and so overwhelming when he had assured me that this case could have been beat, could be beat, and that I could, probably get away with not a problem. But it went almost 12 months, almost, and I just got frustrated and gave up. Took a anger management course that consists of me going in there, signing my name on the roster, sitting there for about 45 minutes, the guy dismissed us and told us we could leave. So, I mean, I just thought that justice system failed me in that case. And
was your case ultimately dismissed, though, or did you have to take deferred adjudication?
I don't know. All I know is that I went there and I signed the paper.
No, I'm talking about in court. Did you have to go before a judge and plead guilty, or did you never did that?
No, when I appeared, I guess about the 10th or 11th month, he told me, he said, well, if you go to anger management course, they'll probably dismiss it.
And so is that what they did?
I'm sure that's what they did, yes.
Okay. Well, that turned out good for you then. At least you got the case dismissed.
Right.
And you do have an opportunity now to get the case. If you got it dismissed, you can get it expunged, which means deleted from all criminal records, arrest records. You do have to pay for that process. But sometimes people don't like to even see that there's been an assault charge that's been dismissed. So if it truly got dismissed and you didn't have to take deferred adjudication, you can get that expunged, which means you can actually say that it never happened.
Right.
So you might want to go through that extra step if that's the only thing that's on your criminal record, or you think that that might hurt you in the future.
Black man in Houston, Texas. That's not the only thing on my record.
Okay, well, like in her. Okay, well, thank you for calling. Okay.
Thank you.
We have 10 minutes, so let's try to
wrap it up.
Wrap it up.
Tell the, you and I talked about it. What some of the experiences you had? What did you learn from this experience that you'd like to talk to the audience about?
Well, first things first, cell phones. Do not ride with them in your laps.
Ladies,
yes, ladies.
particularly.
Do not ride with your cell phone in your lap. I did that, and my cell phone wound up underneath my seat. I couldn't get to it. Therefore, I wasn't able to call the police at the time of the incident, or even en route to my job to tell them that, what happened, and this man was belligerent. I was scared. I wasn't fleeing the scene or anything like that.
So where do you keep your cell phone now?
Oh, in my cup holder.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's like about 4 inches deep, so it sits in there. No matter, it's not going anywhere. It sits in there. So
you can put your hand on it.
Okay. Yeah. So that's where it sits now. And the other thing that I would say is that it can happen to anybody, and no matter how normal, no matter how you live, it can happen to anybody.
Would you participate more fully in the process now, like go to jury duty?
I went to jury duty in California.
Right.
So when I get one, I go. I've always done that. I haven't gotten one.
Do you see that there are trick questions that prosecutors might ask jurors that might be to maybe get them off the jury? Like in Harris County, one of the trick questions people ask is, who, because of religious reasons, does not want to stand in judgment of people?
Absolutely.
I always object to that because you're not standing in judgment of a person. You're just trying to determine who's telling the truth about the facts that they saw it.
Right.
For example, in your case, Mr. Brown and Mr. Avery, they saw different things.
Right.
They're not. The jury's not going to judge them. They're just going to try to see, does it sound believable? Standing where they were, could they have seen what they saw with the lighting? And that's what good lawyers have to bring that picture to light, as to, like a movie, so that the words tell a story.
Right.
And so they're just trying to determine what really happened, because we have all of these different perspectives, and so we got to put this movie together from all these perspectives. So you're not judging the person. You're just trying to determine who's telling the truth, what makes sense to put this whole puzzle together.
Right.
And you don't know if the person's going to even testify. So we shouldn't be judging the person. We should be judging the facts and the credibility of the witnesses to determine what actually happened.
Absolutely. And Ms. Black, if people like yourself don't participate, who will?
Right.
You can get up there and say, yes, police do stop you sometimes for something you've never done.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can actually articulate that to other juror members.
Right.
But you can also say, I can be fair and impartial in any situation. Because most minorities are the most fairest. We don't see the defendant as black or white. We try to, because we all know that we could be the person sitting in that seat, whether they're black, white, or Asian.
Right.
So we generally will give people their constitutional protections no matter what.
Right.
And so that's always kind of offensive to me when I hear prosecutors ask that question, and blacks raise their head. I'm religious, so I don't want to stand in judgment. First of all, we're very judgmental.
Absolutely.
But we can be judgmental and still be fair and impartial.
Right.
And I don't mean that I want the bad guys to get away.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We want the people who are wrong to go to jail.
Right.
But the punishments need to fit the crime. I mean, maybe if someone's guilty, they shouldn't get 50 years. Maybe it should be 10. It shouldn't just be cookie cutter government.
Right.
But
exactly.
if all the cookies look the same, we're gonna get cookie cutter government.
Right.
So unless all the different type flavors of cookie participate, we're not going to get a true, verdict or a true outcome in a society that we all pay for.
Absolutely. And Vivian, before we started, you mentioned something. I wrote it down here on my paper. You said number one thing for a lawyer is to care. I mean, you have to do that. Could you tell me what you meant by that? I know what you meant. Yeah. Just tell the audience so they know.
Well, there are some of us who care and there are some of us who don't. I mean, I didn't grow up with a great life, and so there were times when I didn't think people cared about me. And one of the things that my mission has been is to always care about my clients.
Right.
And to treat them the way I want to be treated. I know that's hard to conceptualize because people are selfish and they want all of you.
Absolutely.
They don't ever want you to take off. I mean, but I do care about my clients, and the care means that I'm going to go the extra way. I'm not going to go with my friends tonight. I'm going to stay up all night working on your case, even though when you do your job, do it from 8 to 5 when you get paid. My caring means I'm going to go above and beyond what you would ever do for me. Whatever's necessary.
Whatever's necessary.
I'm going to talk to other lawyers. I'm going to ask other lawyers to assist me. If I think the prosecutors, because I'm known to be a tough lawyer, going to bring some backup, then I'm going to reach out to some young lawyers who want to learn from me for some backup.
Right.
Or even older lawyers if I can get them to. But usually they're so busy with their own.
Yeah. If I see her in trial and she needs some help, she knows if I'm able to, I'm going to step in.
And you have.
Let's do it. Let's do it. You said something else too. I don't want to sound like I'm interviewing you.
No, I like it. I like it. I like it. Take some of the pressure off.
Leave the world in a better place than it was when I found it. What do you mean by that? I wrote this down, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, because one of the reasons why I produced this show is because I've always been frustrated about the criminal justice system, that minorities don't understand the system.
Right.
And I want people to understand the system. I want them to stop, being one-sided about it. It's like, well, y'all just think this, kind of like one of the callers threw everybody in the same box.
Same boat.
But you don't understand that. I mean,
Right.
maybe as citizens, if you get in trouble, you should research the law. You should research lawyers. One of the things you did, Ms. Black, is you got on the internet and you researched Tyrone Moncriffe.
Right, exactly.
Maybe you should do that. Not only what he might put on his website.
And that's what we did.
But what others say about him, because it's going to be out there. Which is more important.
Right.
Testimonials or articles or things he's participated in.
Right.
Now with Google, your name, you put my name in, you're going to see a bunch of stuff on me, because I'm Vivian R. King. There's another Vivian King. You put Tyrone Moncriffe's name in it, you're going to see a lot of things on him. And you keep searching and keep searching, go page by page, you'll see places where he's spoken and volunteered his time. You're going to see that shows that he cares.
Right,
I
exactly.
care. I go to community events. I'm going to be teaching a seminar tomorrow, voluntarily to the Public Defender's Office. Tyrone does it all the time. I'm not. When I go home tonight, I'm going to stay up till midnight working on something to share what I've learned to other lawyers who are court-appointed lawyers, public defenders, at least 100 of them, so that I can share what I've learned because I care.
Yeah. And one of the things I told her too, when I represent you in this courtroom, remember, it's not just me. I represent everything my family has ever stood for. My mother, my father, my grandparents. All that comes with me when I walk in that courtroom. I cannot let them down. So when I'm in trial with you, it's not just you, but me. Vivian telling you, I'm in trial too.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And
you got one case. You got one case. You're through, but I'm coming back in the next day with another case.
Right.
So I'm in trial. So when I go through, I'm gonna give it everything I have, whatever breath that I have, because I'm on trial. Okay. And Vivian did the same thing. That's why I admire her so much.
I do the same thing. It's my belief system. It's my integrity that's there, and I'm old school. I'm going to fight for my integrity. And we're wrapping it up, but I hope that as you watch this out there in TV land, you appreciate the show. You appreciate us trying to expose the criminal justice system. I hope that you want to embrace it, participate in it, learn who your judges are, vote like your life depends on it. Come to jury duty and make the sacrifice and say, I'm doing it for my community.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You might have to be sending somebody to jail because that's helping your community.
Right.
Be safe. But it might also be the wrong person. And so you stand up and be counted.
Right.
And you say that this is why I don't think this is the way it is. But you stand up and be counted and render a true verdict and help us all do the right thing in this society. And I'm getting my director saying, wrap it up. So what last thing would you like to say, ma'am? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thank you to Tyrone for being a great lawyer.
My pleasure being here.
Thank you for coming, Tyrone Moncriffe. I always learn something from you. Thank you for volunteering and not being afraid to tell your story, because your story is an important story. And for trusting your lawyer and not giving up and taking deferred adjudication, because you would be calling people for the rest of your life saying, but I didn't do it, and my lawyer made me do it. So I appreciate you going through the butterflies and going through the fear of fighting for your good name. So, thank you.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Okay. So, mic's off.